Welcome back, guys. In the previous class we introduced on the VLANs and we learned how to configure a VLAN on a switch, assign the VLAN a name and a number, and assign the ports to access that particular VLAN. And we only used one switch and several computers. So today we are going to look at VLAN, where we will use two switches and computers and configure the trunk to forward those multiple VLANs. Remember, in our previous classes we said that a trunk port allows the forwarding of multiple VLANs, but access port can only access how many VLANs? Only a single VLAN. So in this class we're going to study three things: how to configure a trunk that you already discussed earlier and allow multiple VLANs to be forwarded, and how to configure the VLANs on various ports, and also to enable a port to be in access mode. So without any further ado, let's begin. We will need two switches and let's say 4 computers. Okay, click on the switches and prefer the 2960. Switch 0 and switch 1. Then come to computers 1, 2, 1, 2. And there's something that I want us to do. We want to make the computers on the upper part, this one, computer 0 and computer 2, to be in VLAN 10, while the computer 3 and the computer 1 to be in VLAN 20. Okay, let's now comment. Click on this icon of note, then click here. Let's give it an IP address of 192.168.1.1, then VLAN 10. Okay, alright, then come to this second computer, 192.168.1.2, then VLAN 20. Okay, then this computer 192.168.1.3, then VLAN 10, because we want them to be in the same VLAN with this computer. Okay, alright, so come there and it's 192.168.1.4, then VLAN 20. Okay, so the computers on the lower side access VLAN 20, while the computers on the upper side will access VLAN 10, and these are the IP addresses of these computers. So let's do the cabling between switches. Click copper crossover and take the first interface. On this side also take the first interface. Like that one. Okay, so guys, we have done connecting these devices using the right cables. So what we have to do, we want to specify which link are these. So which port is this one and which port is this one, which mode are these ports are in. Okay, so between switch to switch we said which mode? A trunk port. So this one will be a trunk port and this one will also be a trunk port. Let's comment trunk, and this one will be access. Okay, this one also be access. access. Okay, so we have identified almost everything that we need. So let's go to configuration. The first configuration that we want to involve is to assign IP addresses, a static IP address. Remember, a static IP address is that kind of IP address that we configure it manually. Okay, so let's do it. And a dynamic IP address is that IP address that is configured dynamically using a DHCP server. Okay, alright, so let's click on the computer, and I said you go to desktop, IP configuration, and you give IP address of 192.168.1.1. just click there and leave everything, close, go to PC2, click on desktop, IP configuration 192.168.1.2, then click here, just close, come to the third PC, click on the desktop, IP configuration, then 192.168.1.3, click there, close. The fourth PC, click on desktop, IP configuration, assign IP address 192.168.1.4, click there and close. So we are done configuring the IP addresses of this computer. So by default, these computers will communicate. Okay, so let's try. Let's ping. I said ping is a command that is used to test host reachabilities in IP network. So let's click on the PC, come to command programming, then ping. Which IP address do we have? 192.168.1.2. It's pinging successfully. Okay, then another one is .3, it's pinging successfully. Another one is .4, it's pinging successfully. Okay, so these computers can communicate by default because we have not configured VLAN. But a moment we will configure VLAN, these PCs on this side will not be able to communicate with these PCs on this side unless we enable a trunk interfaces. Remember, trunk interfaces allow forwarding of multiple VLANs, but access interface will only access how many VLAN? A single VLAN. So let's do that in our switch. Let's start with this switch. Click on switch, CLI, enter. This is user exec mode. Then go to privilege exec mode, use N or enable. Then privilege exec mode to configuration mode, use config T like that. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do, let's create this VLAN. How many VLANs do we have so far? Only 2 VLAN, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. So this is a command to create a VLAN. We just write VLAN 10 like that. Okay, that's a command to create a VLAN in a switch. Just write VLAN 10 and hit enter. As you can see, we are in a VLAN interface. Config -VLAN. So let's give this VLAN a name. Which name do we want to give this VLAN? Let's say name. Name is a command. Then which name do we want to give it? Let's say HR like that. Okay, exit that interface and configure another VLAN. Which VLAN again do we have? VLAN 20. Hit enter. Then which name do we want to give it? Name ICT. Okay, then do right. So we have 2 VLANs in this switch. We have configured 2 VLAN in switch 0. So we want the interfaces that are connected to the host computers to access a VLAN. Okay, so let's start with PC0. PC0 is connected to which interface? FA0/3, and it is in VLAN 10. So come to our configuration and exit this one first. And to assign a VLAN to an interface, first of all you enter that interface. Okay, let's enter that interface. Int, which interface was that one? FA0/3. Enter. Okay, then we must enable this interface to be in access mode. Okay, remember, access port accesses a single VLAN, so we must enable this port to be in access mode. So which command do we use? Switch port mode access. Okay, alright, so let's assign a VLAN to this port. Which command do we use? We use switch port access VLAN 10. So that that interface has been enabled to be in access mode. Then it should access which VLAN? VLAN 10. Hit enter. As you can see, the green indicator changed to orange. Okay, it's blinking orange because that particular interface has accessed VLAN 10. Okay, so do right to save the configuration, then exit this interface. Then let's go back to the other interface. Which interface is this one? FA0/2. Come back to our configuration, then let's enter that interface. Int FA0/2, enter. Then let's enable this port to be in access mode. Switch port mode access. Hit enter. Then we want it to access which VLAN? VLAN 20. Switch port access VLAN 20. As you can see, it has changed to orange because the default VLAN was VLAN 1, but now it has been assigned to VLAN 20. Remember, all ports in a switch belong to VLAN 1 by default. Alright, so do right to save the configuration. Then a command to check the VLAN database, I said, you just type do show VLAN when you are in a configuration mode, but when you are in a privilege mode, omit the do, just write show VLAN. So remember this one, whenever you are in a configuration mode, always do to display a certain configuration, but when you are in privilege exec mode, omit do, just say show this one. Okay, alright, enter. As you can see, we added two VLANs, VLAN 20 and VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. VLAN 10 we named as HR and we assigned which port? FA0/3, this one. Okay, and VLAN 20 we named as ICT and we assigned which VLAN? And VLAN 20 we named as ICT and we assigned to which port? FA0/2. This other one. Okay, so let's go back to the other switch, the second switch, so that we can configure the same parameters that we have configured on this switch. Okay, let's close this one and open the switch 1. CLI, enter, enable, config T. Then we want to create how many VLAN? 2 VLAN. The first one is VLAN 10. Which name do we want to give it? It was HR. Exit. The second one is VLAN 20. Which name? Name is ICT. Good. Do right to save the configuration. Then now let's assign ports to the VLAN. We want this port, this PC, to access which VLAN? VLAN 10. So let's see. This PC is connected to which port? It's port FA0/2. Okay, let's come here, click there, right? Exit the interface. You enter that interface first. Enable the port to be in access mode. Okay, switch port mode, access. Okay, hit enter. Then switch port access which VLAN? VLAN 10. Okay, a moment we hit enter, you will see this green indicator change to orange. So let's see. Can you see? Because the default VLAN was VLAN 1, but now we have assigned which VLAN? VLAN 10. Okay, alright, let's exit that interface. Then assign this other interface to VLAN 20. So it's FA0/3. Come back and enter that interface, FA0/3, enter. Then switch port mode, access. Then switch port, access VLAN 20. You see this green indicator changes to orange. Okay, alright, so do right to save the configuration. Then let's display VLAN database. I said you just type which command? Do show VLAN. Very easy when you are in configuration mode, but when you are in privilege exec mode, we just write show VLAN. As you can see, we created how many VLANs? 2 VLAN. VLAN 10 which is HR assigned to which port? FA0/2. Then VLAN 20 name ICT assigned to which port? FA0/3. Okay, so I think we are done configuring VLANs. So let's see, what do you think? Do you think now if we ping from this computer to this computer, will there be any communication? Because this is VLAN 10, this is VLAN 20. Okay, let's try to ping it. So the IP address was 192.168.1.2. okay, can you see? Let's wait and see. By default there will be no communication. Why? Because by default there will be no communication because these two computers are in different VLANs. This one is in VLAN 10 and this one is VLAN 20. So by default, computers in different VLANs do not communicate. Okay, so let's try. This one is in VLAN 10 and this one is in VLAN 10. Let's try if they will communicate. .3 here, IP address I mean. .3. See, there will be no communication. Why? Because although they belong to VLAN 10, you see, but in this case we have two broadcast domain. Okay, we have two broadcast domain. So we discussed in our previous class that each LAN is in a separate broadcast domain. So this one is LAN. It's a separate broadcast domain from this one. Okay, and these two switches are connected using a crossover cable. So the problem is we have not enabled the trunk interface. Remember, a trunk interface is that interface that can access multiple VLANs. Okay, so we must allow this port to be in trunk mode and also this one. So let's do that one, because there is no communication between this computer and this computer, but they are in the same VLAN. Okay, see, timeout, all of it 100% loss. So let's cancel that. Come here and exit that interface. Then come, which interface is this one that you want to configure as a trunk? FA01, FA0/1. Come to switch, then interface FA0/1, enter. Switch port mode trunk. Remember, we want to configure that interface as trunk so that multiple VLANs can pass through. Okay, good. As you can see, so we have enabled that port to be in a trunk mode. So do right, we're just done like that. Close this one. So we come to this one also so that we can enable it to be in trunk mode. Click on it, exit the interface, exit the interface FA0/1, switch port mode, switch port mode trunk, and do right. Okay, so we have configured the we have configured these two interfaces to be in trunk mode so that they can access multiple VLANs. So let's try to test communication again between the two computers in same VLAN. So this computer tried to ping 192.168.1.3, but it was all timeout because we didn't configure a trunk. So let's try it again. It's the same IP address. So let's enter. As you can see, now the ping test is successful. Okay, so guys, that's a very important thing. Remember to configure trunk to allow VLANs to communicate in a network, okay, in the different broadcast domain. Okay, so even if you try this computer to communicate to the other one in this other LAN, there will be communication. So let's ping 192.168.1.2, this one, because they are in the same VLAN. See, there's communication. But when we try the other one, the first computer, which was .1, there will be no communication because they are in different VLANs. And remember, by default, different VLANs will not communicate. Okay, so guys, that's the end of today's class. Let's see you again tomorrow.